I never imagined my own heart would become the witness.
Barbara thought she was just monitoring her pregnancy. Her husband thought he'd committed the perfect murder. But this tiny device recorded something that would destroy his lies forever. Every heartbeat until her final moment, creating an unbreakable timeline that no killer could escape.
This device recorded every heartbeat until her final moment. The heart doesn't lie.
This is how a heart monitor became the most important witness in Austrian crime history. Welcome to another episode of Real Murder Cases that shock the world. Today's true crime documentary investigates one of the most fascinating forensic science breakthroughs in criminal investigation history, where medical evidence became the key to solving what initially appeared to be the perfect crime. Barbara Elizabeth Hoffmann was born on a crisp winter morning in January 1965 in the picturesque city of Salzburg, Austria. This true crime case begins with understanding who Barbara was, a successful businesswoman whose murder would become one of Austria's most famous criminal cases. As a pharmaceutical sales representative, Barbara had built an impressive career, earning substantial income that supported her comfortable lifestyle. Her family described her as the kind of person who lit up every room, a detail that makes this murder case even more heartbreaking. She had this way of lighting up every room she entered. Her brother Stefan would later tell investigators in this cold case that wouldn't stay cold for long. From that first moment, she was the heart of our family. After graduating university in 1987, Barbara quickly climbed the corporate ladder, becoming one of the top pharmaceutical sales representatives in the region. Her success story seemed complete when she met Thomas Hoffmann at a local festival in 1990, a meeting that would eventually lead to one of the most calculated murder plots in Austrian criminal history. This true crime story takes a dark turn when we examine what was happening beneath the surface of the Hoffmann marriage. Barbara and Thomas married in June 1992, settling into a beautiful three-story house worth nearly 2 million shillings, purchased primarily with Barbara's substantial income. But by autumn 1993, their seemingly perfect marriage was hiding dangerous secrets that would soon explode into murder. Thomas had begun what investigators would later describe as classic criminal behavior, secretive financial transactions, and mysterious activities that raised red flags. The most dangerous secret in this murder case wasn't financial, it was personal. Thomas had been conducting an extramarital affair with Katrina Bauer, a childhood friend who had recently become pregnant with his child. This love triangle would become the motive for murder that investigators were looking for. Thomas kept changing his mind about leaving Barbara. Katrina would later testify in this criminal trial. One week he'd say he was ready to start over. The next he'd claim he needed more time. Meanwhile, Barbara remained completely unaware that her husband was planning her murder. She had even sent him romantic notes, including one found later that read, "I can't wait to meet our little miracle together," a heartbreaking detail that shows just how unsuspecting this murder victim was. In November 1993, Barbara began experiencing irregular heartbeats during her pregnancy. Her doctor recommended she wear a Holter heart monitor for 24-hour cardiac monitoring, a decision that would provide crucial forensic evidence in solving this murder mystery.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
The heart monitoring device, cutting-edge medical technology for 1993, would record every heartbeat, creating an unbreakable timeline that no murder suspect could dispute. This piece of forensic science would become the smoking gun in a case that initially seemed unsolvable. What makes this murder case so fascinating from a forensic investigation standpoint is how modern technology became an unexpected witness. The heart monitor data would prove to be more reliable than any human testimony, providing investigators with second-by-second documentation of Barbara's final moments. December 15, 1993, started like any other day, but would end as one of the most documented murder cases in Austrian criminal history. This true crime timeline begins at 8:30 a.m. when Thomas claimed he left for work, only to return for forgotten documents, a story that wouldn't hold up under criminal investigation. Phone records, crucial evidence in this murder case, revealed a very different timeline. At 8:42 a.m., someone called Barbara's medical clinic to inquire about her appointment. At 8:55 a.m., the same phone was used for a 30-minute conversation with Katrina Bauer, well after Thomas claimed to be at work. Barbara's heart monitor was recording her normal morning routine, creating forensic evidence that would later prove crucial in this criminal case. The device showed normal cardiac patterns as she prepared for her doctor's appointment, completely unaware that she was walking into a murder plot. When Barbara arrived at the clinic, she discovered her appointment had been mysteriously canceled, a detail that takes on sinister meaning when you understand this was part of a premeditated murder plan. She returned home around 10:15 a.m., and her heart monitor recorded every single heartbeat until her murder at exactly 10:47 a.m. At 11:02 a.m., Thomas called emergency services, reporting what he claimed was a home invasion robbery gone wrong. When police arrived, they found a crime scene that would become one of Austria's most studied murder cases. Thomas was found tied to a chair in the kitchen, claiming he'd been attacked by a masked intruder. He had minor injuries that appeared staged, a classic sign investigators look for in murder cases involving spouse killers. In the basement, investigators discovered Barbara's body. She had been shot twice with a .38 caliber revolver, the same weapon Thomas had purchased just 6 weeks earlier, claiming concerns about neighborhood break-ins. This detail immediately raised red flags in what was becoming a clear case of domestic murder. Thomas's story about the home invasion didn't match the physical evidence at the crime scene. There were no signs of forced entry, nothing was stolen, and police dogs brought to track the intruder kept circling back to Thomas himself, classic indicators that this was a staged murder scene, not a random crime. What makes this one of the most fascinating murder cases in criminal investigation history is how Barbara's heart monitor became the breakthrough evidence that solved the case. Austrian investigators, working with medical experts, analyzed the Holter monitor data and uncovered devastating proof of Thomas's deception. Dr. Franz Weber, a cardiologist specializing in heart monitor analysis, provided expert testimony that would become landmark evidence in forensic science. The medical device had recorded Barbara's cardiac activity with scientific precision right up until her death, creating an unbreakable timeline that exposed the murder plot. Thomas claimed Barbara was killed around 10:20 a.m., but the heart monitor forensic evidence told a completely different story. The device showed Barbara was alive and moving normally through the house until 10:47 a.m., nearly 30 minutes after Thomas claimed she'd been murdered. The heart monitor data was unmistakable, Dr. Weber explained to the court in testimony that would change how medical evidence is used in murder cases. Barbara Hoffmann was alive for nearly half an hour longer than her husband claimed. The heart doesn't lie. The forensic evidence showed that at 10:47 a.m., Barbara's heart rate suddenly spiked to over 140 beats per minute, consistent with extreme fear, before stopping completely at 10:47 and 23 seconds.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
This medical evidence provided investigators with the exact moment of murder, something rarely available in criminal cases. As this murder investigation deepened, investigators uncovered disturbing evidence of premeditation that transformed this from a crime of passion into a calculated murder case. Computer forensics, relatively new technology in 1993, revealed Thomas had researched untraceable poisons and how to stage a burglary in the months before Barbara's murder. Phone records provided additional forensic evidence that destroyed Thomas's alibi. The data showed constant contact with Katrina Bauer throughout the morning of the murder, including a call made from his home phone at 10:50 a.m., just 3 minutes after Barbara's heart had stopped beating, according to the medical evidence. This combination of digital forensics, medical evidence, and traditional detective work created an overwhelming case against Thomas. The murder investigation had uncovered a web of lies, infidelity, and premeditated violence that would shock the Austrian public. The criminal trial began in February 1995, becoming one of Austria's most closely watched murder cases. The heart monitor evidence was the centerpiece of the prosecution's case, representing a breakthrough in how forensic science could solve seemingly impossible crimes. Katrina Bauer's testimony added crucial context to the murder motive. She described Thomas's promises to leave Barbara and their relationship dynamic, breaking down when asked if she had ever wanted Barbara to die.
Never. I thought he would just get divorced like normal people do. I had no idea he was capable of murder.
The heart monitor forensic evidence was presented with scientific precision that left no room for doubt. Dr. Weber walked the jury through every heartbeat, every spike in Barbara's final 30 minutes of life. The courtroom was silent as they listened to testimony that laid bare Thomas's lies through medical evidence that couldn't be disputed. On March 22, 1995, the jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict. Thomas Hoffmann was sentenced to life imprisonment for the premeditated murder of his wife Barbara, a conviction that relied heavily on the groundbreaking use of medical monitoring evidence in a criminal case. This murder case became landmark in Austrian legal history, one of the first times medical monitoring devices were used as primary evidence in a criminal trial. The precedent set by Barbara's heart monitor has since helped solve dozens of similar cases across Europe and beyond, revolutionizing how investigators approach domestic violence murders. The case demonstrated how modern technology could serve as an unbiased witness in criminal investigations, providing forensic evidence that human testimony couldn't match. Barbara's case became a textbook example in forensic science programs and criminal justice courses worldwide. Thomas served 18 years before receiving parole in 2013. The murder case had lasting impacts on Austrian criminal law, particularly regarding how medical evidence is collected and presented in homicide investigations. Barbara's brother Stefan established a foundation in her memory that supports domestic violence victims and funds research into medical technology applications in criminal investigations. Barbara always wanted to help people, Stefan said. Even in death, she's still helping people find justice through forensic science. The house where this murder took place has been converted into a women's shelter, a fitting tribute to a murder victim whose case continues to help solve crimes and protect other potential victims of domestic violence. This true crime case reminds us how technology we use for health monitoring can unexpectedly become crucial forensic evidence. Barbara's story shows that in an age of advancing medical technology, the truth has more ways than ever to surface, even in the most calculated murder cases. The Barbara Hoffmann murder case stands as one of the most significant breakthroughs in forensic science and criminal investigation history. What started as an apparently perfect crime, a staged home invasion with no witnesses, became solved through the most unlikely evidence, Barbara's own heartbeat recorded until her final moment. Thomas Hoffmann thought he had created the perfect murder plot, staged the perfect crime scene, and eliminated all evidence of his guilt. But he underestimated the power of modern forensic science, and he underestimated Barbara. Even in her final moments, she was gathering the evidence that would bring her killer to justice. Her heart monitor didn't just record medical data, it recorded the truth that solved this murder case. In a world of deception and domestic violence, sometimes the most powerful witness is one the killer never knew existed. This true crime documentary shows how forensic evidence and criminal investigation techniques continue evolving to serve justice. Barbara Hoffmann's case remains a testament to how victims can still speak for themselves through the forensic science that solves their murders. This is why Barbara's story continues to echo through time, not just as a chilling case of betrayal and murder, but as proof that the truth always finds a way. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.